When I do a recording or a take of any kind, I usually do this thing where I'll have like a perfect idea of how it goes in my head, and then I'll keep doing it until it's perfect. But I don't want to do this twice because I think I want people to see the imperfections and see how things actually work. I think when we see people act like they actually do instead of a nice little recording, we get to see a little bit more of ourselves in them. So, my name is Samuel. I have, like everybody, a life and stuff going on, and a past and whatever, but I think that's not quite as important as what motivates me to talk. Being a human is hard. Existing is hard. It comes with a host of problems. We're kind of trapped between having to do something just to stay alive and not having certain knowledge of anything. And that's pretty painful. Then we have to try to figure out how to connect with other people and be a part of something. I know loneliness is something that crushes a lot of people. And what I would like to do for the world around me is to talk about my experience existing and share things that have been helpful and talk about my failings, because I hope to make a difference in people's lives. There's been some work on this. I have like a formal philosophy and like a specific set of ideas, and I have a couple articles about them and stuff. But there's a specific objective that goes with it, and it's making people's lives better. I've noticed, especially in academia and philosophy, there's this habit that people have of trying to say things because you want to be seen a specific way. And while I'm sure that there's a little bit of, I would like to, have people like me and be a part of their lives and get adoration, respect from people, I can honestly say that my primary reason for saying what I'm going to say throughout the rest of my life is that I care about people. I think for how much that people talk, they don't talk about the most basic parts of being a human being. They talk about large-scale stuff and sociological stuff and stuff as it pertains to governments and finances, and all of that has a place, and the efforts done in those fields have done some good as well as some bad. However, there's so much basic stuff about being a person that's glossed over, and I don't think that I have any answers, but I think that I would like to be one of those people that starts to talk about that process. I definitely start my thinking and my reasoning at a very atomic level from my own experience. I have a specific series of things that I've worked on and thought about, and it doesn't come from reading academia and arguing with people and trying to do all this stuff. It has been supplemented greatly by that. That's helped me figure out some language stuff and how to express it. But it comes from this point of me trying to exist and then figure out how to exist well. And that being a messy and painful and difficult process. And I would like, I don't know if I should just come out and say it. I love everybody. I think humans are pretty alright. I think they have a lot of things that weigh them down and a lot of really good reasons to feel pain. And I'd like to make their lives better. I don't think that any of my ideas, well, I think some of the ideas are pretty good. I don't think that I'm special enough to say anything super important. I do think that people matter enough for me to try, though. And what I have learned from existing for a while is that I will never know how to do this right, but I can be sure that I do it. I've been wanting to do whatever this is for quite some time, but I keep worrying that I'm going to say it wrong, or I'm going to let people down or express things right. But I think it's more important that there is effort than that I do it perfectly. Something I've noticed is something that's pretty alright and is actual will beat out something that's perfect but conceptual every time. And by me messily engaging with this, probably failing in a few ways, I'm going to start making it actual. And that property alone has something. There's some thoughts there that other people have had, but I won't get into that. Basically, this is what it comes down to. I think through a messy life, I have figured out a few things that have been very helpful to me. That have made something that was painful and confusing and messy and random and chaotic, all those things, and still yet somehow meaningful and beautiful and hopeful. And they come from such a basic part of me being alive that I have reason to believe those things will apply to other people as well. I'm sure not all of it will, but some of it perhaps. And so I'm stuck in this position where I feel like the ideas are pretty good. And I definitely care for people with so much of who I am. And stuck between these two things is me, trying to bridge this gap. And I'm not going to lie, it's pretty daunting. I've also noticed that when you open yourself up to sharing ideas, that you open yourself up to having them critiqued, which can be wonderful and helpful and vital and all that good stuff. But I've also noticed that some of those people have malicious intent, and I think life has weighed a little bit on me, and I might not like that, but most good things come on the opposite side of a lot of striving and pain. So I think I'm just going to take that as part of it. And the reason why is I think people are worth it. I think you specifically are worth it. Worth having a few bits of reasoning and a couple concepts and a couple of lessons that could make your life a little bit better. In fact, I think you deserve much more than that. But that's what I can offer to you. So that's kind of where I'm stuck, not knowing how to execute things very well, but knowing pretty well what they are and knowing what my motivation is. So I'll get really black and white here for a second. My objective is this. For the most people, and to the greatest degree possible, as they lie down on their deathbed and they look back over their lives with all the mess that it was, and the loss, and the finality, and the impermanence and the permanence, that through a couple of specific ideas, they can look back and say that it was worth living. That is what I want. I don't think it's possible to make every day feel like that. But for people as they look back over their lives, to have a strong case and be given all the resources they can to make that case. My medium for doing this is an idea that I call esse maxim. It is the idea that we intentionally construct our experience, have a base assumption for all other thoughts, and finally attack our existence from the moment that we are in. It's going to be an idea that responds to a lot of skepticism, but with the primary point of giving power to choose to those that use it. When it's all said and done, you will notice that no matter how smart you are, how much effort you put in, you will be wrong often. And in some ways, you're wrong on things that have pretty extreme effects. Perhaps they caused you pain. Perhaps they hurt other people. Perhaps they made the world just a little bit dimmer. And we're always confused about what good is, what's moral, what's right in any situation. And it's also messy what things mean. My thoughts are that we can construct those and build a system there and use some reason to kind of have a framework that's the best it could be based on a few metrics. But most importantly, I have found that there is one thing you can control, and that is how deliberately you live your life. And if there was one thing that I could share with people, it would be to live deliberately. Because back to that thing that motivates me, that idea of people being towards the latter end of their lives, at best I have 60, 70 years left. I hope you're in good health, but you're probably somewhere in the same, a little less, a little more. And when it's all said and done, you want to mean something, to have been something, to have made some type of impact. And it can be unsure what exactly that looks like, but no matter what it is, you can at least control that by being engaged with your existence. Going about it with effort, being methodical, using reasoning. Again, the directions, the information you have access to, the resources around you, these are things that can be outside of your control and can vary greatly. But how intentionally you approach it, the labor that you give to it, that is something that is always in your control. And that is what I would like to help people do. Because again, this one's a little baseless, a little arbitrary, and definitely there's always going to be a counter argument to this, but I want people to have it. I want people to have good lives. I want them to have a sense of something good, something true, something meaningful. From my experience, those things are not just dropped in our laps. Those are things that we have to chase after. But I think even in a messy world and a society going very quickly in a direction that no one knows what it is, I think that we can run. I think that we can chase after it. When it's all said and done, it might just be the chase that was the closest thing. Not to have gotten to truth, to goodness or meaning, but the fact that we ran toward it. But then all the more reason to run. There comes a point where the mountaintop is a nice destination, but somewhere along the way, as you're worn out, tired, your feet are sore, you're out of breath, the sun is baking on you, you get this sense that maybe even those difficult little moments of you trying to get anywhere at all are where the human spirit seems to be housed. Though the meaning of life is definitely not something I would like to grapple right now. I think a good aim for life that could apply very well to a lot of people is striving. That you are striving towards something, working towards something, fighting towards something, failing toward something. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be a part of sharing what has helped me strive better. That other people will too. This isn't very structured, by the way. I've never been the best at outlines. But I guess I just want to touch on what motivates me again. And it's like, I'm not going to say you don't have problems, that you're perfect, because I don't even think that's really a thing. That's kind of a messy thing to even think about. I'm not going to say that you should have all this great self-esteem and you should think you're so wonderful. But what I am saying is, with all the problems and all the mess and all the things that you know about that you're not a huge fan of, I think you're important enough, special enough, and good enough for someone to share these things with you. Now, whether or not the ideas are any good, the good thing is your brain is incredibly powerful and can construct meaning and experience out of things that don't even have it. Think of all the art you've seen that was not even that good of a piece of artwork, but you got something out of it that wasn't even intended. Maybe I might use that as like my backup to comfort me. I'm going to try to present ideas that are good and important. But honestly, the most important conversation, not the one you're hearing, but the one going on between your ears. Right now, with everything I say, you're thinking about it and you're analyzing it. And some things you're rejecting, and some things you're accepting, and some things you're putting in a shelf and saying, okay, we're not sure about this. I think that's what matters more than what I say. So, luckily, I don't think I have to say all the perfect things and figure everything out, because I think this is something that we do together. And that's why I call this a dialogue. Obviously, you're not here with me. I would love your input. I'd certainly love the company. But I have this sense that I can anticipate what could be said and respond to that. So I would appreciate it maybe if you did that with me, if you had a dialogue in your head about this. So this was kind of all over the place, pretty messy. I'm not really sure if I got everything I wanted to across. But, if anything, that is more emblematic of what it's like to exist. So, thank you for your time. And live deliberately.